السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. ألف لام ميم ذلك الكتاب لا ريب فيه هدى للمتقين الذين يؤمنون بالغيب ويقيمون الصلاة ومما رزقناهم ينفقون. We're once again back trying to seek the guidance from the book of divine guidance as we have brought together scholars, scientists, laypersons, and activists to share their understanding of the Quranic guidance as regards the moral character, as regards to the ethical values that we all practice. And we are trying to understand the relevance of the Quranic message in our time on situations that we faced on almost every day in our life. With us today is a prominent scientist who has been an administrator, an academician, a writer, a philosopher, and a thinker, and above all, an ardent student of the Quran to reflect on one of the issues that is facing our planet in our times, perhaps like no other issue that we as human beings have faced in the past few centuries. It relates with the fate of the planet. It relates with the environment. Today it is 22nd of April in India and it is 21st in the United States. Tomorrow, that is US time zone, we would have a summit of most important nations on the issue of environment pertaining to deforestation, pertaining to air purification, pertaining to what they call the air pollution, and pertaining to the the future of the climate, the global warming, and all those things. We have Dr. Muhammad Aslam Parvaiz, who has been working on this issue of environment for several decades, and he has written extensively on that and attended several conferences. So perhaps it is most appropriate that just before the summit, he is here to talk about the environmental issue and the responsibilities of Muslims as believers in the divine guidance and to see in what manner the Quran prepares us to deal with the challenges that we are facing in our environment today. Welcome, Dr. Muhammad Aslam Parvaiz, once again, and the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Aslam Abdullah. Assalamu alaikum. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Ladies and gentlemen, as Dr. Aslam Abdullah introduced my topic, I will be talking about the environment. And I believe it hardly needs any introduction because we all are suffering in one way or the other. The environmental calamities in the form of the droughts and floods and all sorts of havocs which we are facing literally in every country, they are day-to-day affairs. The new diseases have emerged because the habitats of the all those organisms which are either infectious or are the carriers of the diseases has changed drastically. Deforestations have been done. I would say that they have been, their habitats have been destroyed. That's why they are moving from one place to another place and so on. So that's my theme today because these are the very important issues and naturally it is impossible that Quran does not address it. What is challenging and interesting as well is that because of our moving away from the Quran, the majority of the Muslims, they don't see any connect between the Islam and the environment. So let's start with the topic, the taking care of the environment, an important ibadah. What are the divine messages to be followed? And now this is a basic concept, a basic sketch of the environment, that how different components like soil, minerals, plants, animals, water and air and human beings are interrelated, correlated. And when we say soil, in fact, naturally it means the rocks, the mountains, the deserts, and everything that is, in fact, the entire earth with the minerals and the plants, all sorts of plants, right from microbes, which we cannot see, and they inhabit the water, the air, the soil, and everything. Then all sorts of animals, waters in different forms, and air of all those types. Incidentally, today is the because it is 22nd April in India, and this is celebrated internationally as the Earth Day. How we can take care of Earth, and the theme of this year's Earth Day is restore our Earth. How we can restore our Earth, how it is so important for us, and how more important for us all who are attending it, that how it is related with the Islamic teachings and in what way it is an ibadah, and if we are not doing anything, are we missing on this important aspect of the ibadah? So this is a brief sketch to illustrate that how a single entity in the environment is important for lots of living creatures. Say for example, here is the tree, and it is written here, as we can see, that branches and leaves, they are the places for resting or taking food or doing so many activities of creatures like bees, wasps, moths, squirrels, blood, and hawks. Then we have the trunk, which is a source of so many things for insects and larvae. We have root and the soil zone, where we have the bacteria, the earth forms, wood lice, and fungi, and so many things. So this soil, which we can see here, in fact, it is full of microorganisms, small plants, small animals, and so is the air around. These roots, which we can see here, they perform a very important function, because when the rains come, the water percolates down the soil and it is locked up down into the soil. Now these roots, they work like a pump which absorbs water and takes it around up the tree, and from these leaves it is evaporated into the atmosphere, the process which is known as transpiration. So the roots, they in fact, the entire plant acts like a water pumping machine, absorbing water from the soil which is locked down deep into the soil. It travels up the tree, supplies water and minerals to the tree, to the leaves and every part of it, and then from the leaves. And as we know that the major part of, or the major volume of the trees is in the form of the leaves. They have flat surfaces which facilitate in the evaporation of water, which is technically known as transpiration. So in water circulation, this entire tree, and in fact every plant, it helps a lot in releasing water into the atmosphere, which thereby helps in the maintaining the humidity of the air and for the formation of the clouds, and thereby bringing back the rains. So this is just one example that how one thing plays an important role in the overall environment. Now, this verse of Surah Rahman tells us that the earth, Allah has set it for all living creatures. وَالْأَرْضَ وَزَعَى لِلْأَنَامِ. So this verse very clearly explains that this earth is an abode for all sorts of creatures. Allah has prepared it. Allah has made it for all creatures. It means if it is an abode for all creatures, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made all the provisions in this earth to maintain the entire life cycle of all the creatures. And these creatures are in plenty. Surah Nahl says that for should you try to count Allah's blessings, you could never compute them. Allah's blessings in the form of living creatures, in the form of non-living component we have on this planet, in the form of minerals, in the form of water, in the form of air, and so many things which we use. They are Allah's blessings, and they are so many that in fact we cannot count them, and this is a scientific fact. In fact, the most underexplored is the microbial world, the world of viruses which are playing havoc with us these days. We remember coronavirus. We have not forgotten HIV and so many other viruses, right from the common cold virus to polio virus. They are there. The smallest, I would say, creatures on the boundary of living and non-living. Then we have all sorts of bacteria and so many microorganisms, and not more than 5% of these microbes are characterized or discovered till date. 95% of these creatures we are yet to discover and understand how they are working in our earth, in our environment, and what they are contributing. We just do not know. So that is the extent or the expense of our ignorance about our environment. Then this is a very important verse which defines another aspect of the environment, that there is not a thing whose storehouses are not with us. We send it down only according to a well-defined measure. That is the most important thing. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that we have storehouses of everything, but we send down those things in a well-defined measure. It means whatever thing we have, be it water or any other thing, it is in a fixed and well-defined measure sufficient for the requirements of all of us on this planet, provided it is maintained and it is properly recycled. That's an important part of it. And this maintenance of recycling and everything, it maintains the due balance which is required. And this balance is very much very clearly explained in this verse. And the sky, he has raised it and has set up the balance in order that you not transgress the due balance and establish the balance in a just manner and do not reduce or harm the balance. You see, the atmosphere, which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says as sama has been raised, the sky we know is I would say, imaginary or hypothetical concept, because these are the layers of air and the gases which appear blue because of the reflection of light through the small particles over there. So basically, these are the layers of the gases high up over there, which we call as the sky. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that we have raised it and set up a balance. What balance? We have a balance, now we know it, that balance of the amongst different gases which we have in the atmosphere, mainly, for example, carbon dioxide, we have oxygen, we have nitrogen, the oxides of nitrogen, oxides of sulfur, which are of course in lesser amounts. But the major component is oxygen and nitrogen and carbon dioxide. Now Allah asks us this verse that we are not supposed to disturb this balance either by increasing any component, Allah tadaw fil mizan, or by decreasing anything, wala tuqsirul mizan. So we are prohibited by increasing any component to increase any component or to decrease any component. Now this we can see in terms of atmospheric pollutions, that because of the industrial activity initially and then the increase in the number of automobiles on the roads and many other activities, the amount of carbon dioxide has increased in the atmosphere. So that is the increase we have caused. And many other gases are also, because of all these activities, say oxides of sulfur and nitrogen, those components have increased. And we have decreased because of these activities slightly the composition of the ozone, and at places oxygen as well. So because of these disturbances, we are facing all sorts of problems in the form of atmospheric pollution causing many diseases globally. In fact, I live in a city which is amongst the most polluted cities of the world, New Delhi. So that is the significance of the balance which should be maintained, because Allah has created the earth and the atmosphere and everything in such a way that it supports the life. In fact, as a student of botany and as a teacher of botany, I have taught origin of life and its survival for several decades to my students, and this is a wonderful topic and I love it. And there we studied that how the earth initially was, made habitable for life, how the oxygen appeared, which we call as the oxygen revolution, which happened billions and billions, millions of years ago. So all these things, the earth has been set. We have all life support systems on this planet, and if we are suffering today, this is because that we have disturbed the balances. These life support systems have been damaged partially or fully at places, and this balance is disturbed because of human activities. Wherever in nature the human intervention is not there, we still find the nature in its pristine form. Then this verse is very important, but because it defines the role of human beings on this planet. It says that, and he it is who made you successors of the earth and raised the grades of some of you above others, that he may test you through that which he has given to you. So the role of the human beings on this planet is that of a successor or custodian or vicegerent, that is Khalifa. We are the custodians of the resources of this planet. It means we are not the masters of nature. We are not the conquerors of nature, because these are the things, these are the titles which we proudly announced with the advent of science and technology. I remember my childhood days. But in fact, we as human beings are the custodian of the earth and its resources. And this verse very clearly tells us that somebody is given more resources as compared to others, so that it may be checked that how it is used, misused, or underutilized. Now, these resources could be in the form of the natural resources. It could be the power which we have. It could be the authority which we have. So, in whatever capacity we have the power or the resources, how we use it. Do we maintain the balance? Do we distribute or ensure the equitable distribution of it or not? That's important. Because the most important concept we which must understand it, that we are the custodians of this planet. Now, suppose if we are the custodians, as we are in fact, then are we taking care of the resources which we have at our disposals or which have been given under our charge, that we should take care of them? That's why this verse is very important, because it defines the role of human beings on this planet. Then, of course, we know that wastage is not good, and this is an order. This is a divine order. Wala tusrifu. Do not waste Allah's bounties. Verily, He does not love the wasteful. Because wastage of resources, either due to extravagant or exhibitionist lifestyles as we have, they are in fact encroachment upon the accessibility rights of the people who don't have the access, the due access. So a balance should also be there between the need and how we fulfill it. So israf or wastage of natural resources or Allah's bounties is strictly prohibited, because this is a divine order. We should remember that wala tusrifu. If we are wasting any of the resource, say for example water, if we can use one bucket for taking a bath and we are using several buckets, our taps are running while we are performing wudu or having our beard shaved or anything, we are ignoring this divine order, wala tusrifu. And if we practice it, then we are following divine order, hence it becomes an ibadah. This is a part of the ibadah if we conserve resources and adopt a minimalist approach for utilization of resources. Then, because of human activities, as now we all know and we have experienced, and that's why we celebrate the, say for example, Earth Day today, then World Environment Day is on 5th June, and so many days we are celebrating just to make people understand that how important it is to maintain our planet, to keep it in a healthy shape. And that's why the slogan of the Earth Day this year is Restore Earth. This verse says that corruption has appeared. Zahra al fasada fil barri wal bahri. Now, fasad is a very inclusive term with the root word of Fe Sin Dal or FSD, and it includes all sorts of corruption, inequalities, irregularities, all sorts of things. This is a umbrella term, I can say. Corruption has appeared in the land and the sea on account of that which man's hand have done. This is our doing. Allah didn't make earth like that. Our activities have reduced it to such a pitiable situation where I would say that not only human beings but every living creature is suffering because of the chaos which we have created. I will come to it later on. Sorry, that he may make them taste a part of that which they have done so that they may return. It means whatever corruption, whatever pollution, and all other environmental degradations and the diseases and the natural calamities occurring out of it. Allah says that these are the reminders, these are the warnings, so that you may taste a part of that which we have done. So we must, in fact, Allah says that you are reaping what you have sown. So it is a reminder. We can still wake up. We can still take care. And so that they may return. They return to what? They return to the teachings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Return to divine orders which tell us not to disturb the balance, not to waste our resources, take care of the resources as the custodians of the planet, use things in such a way that you leave them in a good shape for the next generations. That's how things should have happened, and that's how things should happen. Even if we wake up now, we can improve this situation, of course. Now, these are the things which we see all around us, particularly in our subcontinent. This is very common, the burning of the waste, and these are the I would say the waste which comes from the different household activities, but we have waste from the crops, from the vegetations. All things are burned. That way, the heat, carbon dioxide, and many other gases are added to the environment in huge amounts. So this sort of open burning, of course, disturbs the balance of the environment. And when we do it, we do not know that we are doing a sin, literally. We are going against the divine order. We are ignoring the verses of the Quran. We are ignoring the divine orders of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then we have familiar sight that wherever industries are there, a lot of gases are thrown into the atmosphere, the belching of the smoke, dense smokes into the environment, into the atmosphere, despite the fact that we have technologies for cleaning of the smoke which is coming out, but since it involves the investment of money, and industrialists who run these industries, their main target is profit. So if they increase the investment, their profit will decrease. So just to keeping an eye on the profit, they hardly try, particularly in this subcontinent, I say that most of the industries, they throw out their waste, either it is the liquid waste or it is the gaseous waste in the form of smoke or other gases, without cleaning or recycling it. And I would say that though the laws are there, they are not, in fact, I would say, strictly imposed or practiced. Then we have the famous smokes, particularly during the winter, that because of the heavy traffic on the roads in the urban areas, we have a smoke with the fog, creating a smoke which creates a lot of breathing problems and troubles. Then we have the plastic and all sorts of waste products which are thrown into the water bodies. And the innocent creatures which live in those water bodies, the plants and animals, they are in fact suffocated. They die because of the suffocation, and some of the animals, they consume these plastics and they die because they get choked. So in fact, we all have become the killers the murderers, because we just don't care and throw away all the plastic or all those garbages which are not biodegradable. That is, they do not decompose automatically in nature. They remain, they choke the water bodies, they block the supply of oxygen to animals and plants. And this is one such slide which shows what has been happening, and we all are familiar. Now, this is again a familiar slide. You see the all sorts of colored waters which are added to the soil. Now, they are loaded with chemicals coming out from the industries in the form of waste products. This is a common sight in Delhi. I have seen it. And in fact, in every city, people who are conscious, are careful, they can see it. Now, these chemicals, when they are discharged openly, this soil absorbs these chemicals and this water, and this way the soil is polluted with chemicals, with heavy metals, and the underground water is also polluted. And that's why in such places, if you take out the water from the underground, as it is done through the hand pumps or through the motors, the pumping motors, then this water is polluted, containing mainly heavy metals, which is harmful, not only harmful for human beings and consumption, it is poisonous. But we are adding all these poisons in our atmosphere, in our environment. We are polluting soils, and we are creating a definite facade fill earth. This is the facade which we are doing. Now, the polluted water results into the killing of fish. As you can see here, thousands and thousands fish you can see dead, and the children surviving, struggling to really take a healthy breath, if you can say, because of the smoke. Breathing has become difficult, and a substantial number of people I know in Delhi are suffering the diseases related to this breathing tract. These diseases are very prevalent and common in many cities, including New Delhi. Noise is another thing which kills us and disturbs us. This briefly tells us that how noise affects it causes stress, sleeping problems, then hearing impairment, and hypertension and other diseases. And even a bus, it, if from a distance of 7 meters, gives us enough noise to disturb all of us. Now, these things I have summed up here, that Allah characterizes believers as Muslimin. That is, Muslims are Muslimin. Muslimin of the society, they have been commanded to do Amle Saleh. What is an Amle Saleh? Act of correction and reformation which would undo the damage done by the spoilers or the corruptors. It means there are two categories from this point of view. The Mufsideen. Mufsideen are those peoples or groups of people which spread fasad on earth in the form of any imbalance, inequality, disturbance in the society, either in the form of disturbing the atmospheric balance or disturbing the balance we have in the soil or in the water bodies. All these are called the mufsideen, who spread fasad or corruption or adding harmful substances into the atmosphere. Thus, it is the duty of all believers to take up corrective measures for improving the society and to ameliorate the condition of people suffering because of inequalities, imbalances, and disorder in the society. All these things come under fasad, the definition of the fasad. All sorts of inequalities, imbalances, and disorders in the society. The references can be seen here: Al-Baqarah 82, At-Tin 6, and Al-Asr 3. So, Muslims are believed to be Muslihin. That is, they should be the correctors. And Allah clearly says that wala tufsidu fil ard. And it further says that if you are Muslims, that you must understand it. It means it is I would say, a religious responsibility of all the Muslims to take care of the environment. And if we are taking care of the environment and doing anything which improves facade of any kind, anywhere, this is an act of ibadah. This is an act of ibadah because Allah has asked us to do it. That's why this is very important. Now, this is the verse I was referring to, that wala tufsidu fil ardi ba'da islahiha zalikum khairul lakum in kuntum mu'minin, and do not cause corruption in the earth. Now, this is first part of the order. Do not cause corruption in the earth after it has been set right, because the earth has been set right for the to become a habitat of all the living creatures, as we discussed in the initial slides which I shared with you all. So we are asked not to spread any corruption. So if we are, corrupting the environment in any way, we are spreading fasad and we are mufsid. Allah asks us that this is the best for you if you are believer. That is, in kuntum mu'minin. If you are mu'min, this is the best thing which we should do. That what you should do, don't spread any sort of corruption, inequality, disorder, imbalance on this planet. This is an order. And then it says that would we treat those who have attained to faith and do righteous deeds, to amle saleh, in the same manner as we shall treat those who spread corruption on earth? Would we treat the God conscious in the same manner as wicked? Now, this is very clear cut demarcation of the two categories I was just mentioning, Mufsideen and Muslihin. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that those people who are doing the Amle Saleh, that is, they are correcting the whatever corruption has appeared. Say, in terms of atmosphere, we can say that these are the people who are taking active part in the cleansing of the environment. They are taking all the measures. They are joining all those groups, all those activists, all those people who are working day and night to keep our planet in a healthy way, who are motivating people, industrialists, that please don't throw your gases, your waste, water waste into the atmosphere without cleaning them. They must be cleaned so that the soil is not damaged, the soil is not harmed, so that the air doesn't become poisonous, so that the water bodies do not become poisoned. Now, these are the things, the acts of correctness, the amle saleh, which Muslims must do as a part of religious responsibility. These verses are very clear about it, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that these two groups can never be equal. They will not be treated equally, as it says that those who spread corruption on the earth, they cannot be treated like those who are God conscious, because they know that what are the commands from the God, what are the divine orders which we should do in this correction. So that's why it is very important that we must take active part, and we should join all those groups which we all have in our neighborhoods, but unfortunately the representation of Muslim is minimal in those places. In fact, we do not have many institutions who are working on the interface of Islam and environment, the teachings of Islam and the environment. In fact, the interface studies of Islam vis-a-vis any knowledge area is not much found, at least in this subcontinent. So this is a very important aspect. We should take care, and in fact, right from I would say, it should be a part of the grooming of our children, that we must tell them basic things: not to throw garbage out, not to uproot plants, or not to damage leaves. In fact, we should teach them to plant trees, to protect trees, to nurture them. It should be a part of the training that motivate the children to plant saplings, to take care of them, to support the life forms, to support the greenery, to take care of the soil. And we should join all those groups which take care of the environment. And we must take it as our religious responsibility, as our religious duty, because as in this brief time I can show and share the important verses from the Quran, which tells us that we should be, as Muslims, we should be mustahin, that is the correctors of the disorders, not the mufsideen who are creating the disorders and polluting the environment. Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you very much, Dr. Aslam Parvaiz, for this profound explanation of what is happening to our planet and what are the responsibilities that Muslims should have. Sorry, my video is not working, so I will be focusing through audio only. And certainly the issues that you have raised deserve separate discussions on environment, a series on environment that inshallah, with the help of the IslamiCity Board of Directors, we would be able to put on online, uh, explaining the issues and everything that is related with environment. But there are two issues, uh, Dr. Aslam Parvaiz, that I would like you to basically focus on in the next few minutes that we have. Muslims make only 21% of the world population, and the areas that are under their control, which we can call the Muslim majority area, are approximately 32%. Much of the issues of environment related problems are coming from industrialized nations or nations that basically control much of the resources of the world, including many resources in the Muslim world as well. Multinational corporations, big industry. So, in what way Muslims can be effective in this kind of situation where they are dependent for their basic needs, on outsiders, those who are polluting the earth, those who are basically using industrialization as a source of increasing waste. So, in what way we can be effective?
In fact, these are those issues which cannot be, I would say, segregated on these religious lines. I agree with you that percentage wise Muslims are not that much, but every single person matters. As I said, these are the issues which we must fight together with all other faith groups. Now, I put another statistics before you and for the considerations of all the viewers here, that there are so many movements, environmental movements, the major ones also. You tell me, do we have them, the proportionate representations of Muslims in those bodies? Suppose we are, say, 20 to 30%. All those environmental awareness campaigns and bodies have 20 to 30% Muslims? No. Now, see how the other religious groups have made advancement and raised their voice. Pope Francis is an internationally known name. Can you name a single Muslim religious scholar, cleric, or intellectual who has been so active like Pope Francis? And this is not about the Christians, among the Hindus, among the Sikhs, and a very small population of Jain community in India. They all are taking care of environment. Their religious scholars are active. Their institutions, say for example, if I take up on the religious lines, the West, the US, they have the majority of Christians. The academic institutions are controlled by these Christians. Now, most of the important major universities have departments of interfaith studies of religious and environment. In fact, Harvard University had a chain and the series of conferences on Islam and environment, Hinduism and environment, Christianity and environment, Sikhism and environment, Judaism and environment. And in fact, I have been a part of the Islam and environment movement. And the book which came out of it, I have contributed a chapter to it, published by the Harvard Press. We have examples of any so-called Muslim university or Islamic country working on these lines? Why we are not working? Where the Quran, you see, I had a very limited time. I have elaborate lectures on my YouTube channel where I have discussed in detail the role of the environment and its relationship with the Islamic teachings. But you cannot name a single person who is off and on people mention. And when they are, I would say, motivated to do those, say they do it. That way, I must acknowledge here that the Islamic Fiqh Academy, that is Islamic jurisprudence body which we have in India, the All India body, they in fact, I have good academic relations with them, and I had discussions with them number of times, and I motivated them to take up issues of the environment in their annual sessions. And I'm happy to put on record that Islamic Fiqh Academy has taken up the water pollution, and latest which we take up is the atmospheric pollution. including the noise pollution. I prepared the concept note. I attended that seminar, attended by hundreds of religious scholars, the fuqaha, which we say, and I made a presentation. They agreed, and very important recommendations were released as a result of that conference. But common platforms, for example, in our neighborhood mosque, when we go for Friday prayers, I am yet to find a single scholar or the khatib who addresses the Friday congregations is speaking about the environment or asking the people not to throw garbage out. This is a basic thing, not to pollute waters. So I think we are lacking, drastically lacking, and we are lacking in following the orders of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. As I said in my earlier lectures and elsewhere also, that unfortunately for whatever reason, we have given or we have brought into focus only very few divine commands and defined them as ibadah, like the namaz, that is the salat or fasting and zakat and hajj. All these things which are so important, if they are practiced, the society will improve so much, and we will be joining hands with all our brothers and sisters around the planet who are working day and night to protect the environment. So that's my concern.
Thank you. Another question, and I think probably you could answer it more better than anyone else. That in certain countries there is now a group of people. I'm not talking that they are Muslims who are saying that the burial of dead bodies is a source of pollution. How far that is true?
This is totally scientifically wrong. In fact, if we stop burial, and burial is not something which Muslims do.
Exactly.
Everything in nature is buried and decomposed. When an animal dies, it decomposes. And if this decomposition and burial would not have happened, we wouldn't have the coal and the petroleum and all the products with us, because these are the living creatures which got buried down billions of years ago, and because of the chemical reactions and the pressures occurring down into the earth, they converted into petroleum products and the coal. Secondly, this is a very important aspect of the recycling. Whatever you see, other than sunlight, nothing comes to this earth. It is a packed structure. The minerals, the resources, what we have on this planet, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as the word says it, I showed the slide, they all have been sent in a due measure, calculated quantity. Now these quantities must be recycled. You see, for the growth of bones, the main components which we need are calcium and phosphorus. Now if this calcium or phosphorus which we derive from the soil is not returned to soil, how we will get it for the new generation? So whenever somebody is buried into earth, either deliberately as Muslims and many other religious groups do, or an animal or the plant which is buried when it dies, its body gets decomposed by the microorganisms which we find in the soil. That's why, in fact, it is a scientific fact that suppose in 1 square mile area, the number of plants and animals which you see on the earth is much, much less than what we have in that 1 square kilometer area down into the soil. Billions and billions of microorganisms, plants and animals. They are decomposers, natural decomposers, which decompose everything which falls on the ground, which is buried into the ground. So when I am dead and I am buried, my body is decomposed. My proteins, my calcium, my phosphorus, and all my other components of the body, which I have taken from Mother Earth, that's why we call it Mother Earth, they are returned to the atmosphere, they are returned to the soil. Now this enriches the soil, it makes the soil fertile, and that's why if you go to, at least in my subcontinent, if you go to the burial ground, we'll find very rich vegetation there, because the soil is rich. Why soil is rich? Because a lot of bodies are decomposing, but these minerals which are added to the soil, they move into the soil. They don't remain confined to a space. There is a gradient according to which they move. They enrich the soil, the plants grow on it, and these minerals, they are returned. You see, a plant of pulse, any pulse, lentil, say for example, Lentil is a source of protein. From where it comes? From the soil, the nitrogen sources. And from where that nitrogen comes? Because my body is disintegrated. So this is the biologically most significant and beneficial system of returning back to Mother Earth what we all have accumulated during our lifetime. So this is perfectly an environment friendly process which is done in nature.
Thank you. I think you brought up the issue that how come there is no Muslim figure and thinker and theologian who has spoken on this particular issue. We have you. You are the one who has been giving us that kind of awareness of that issue, and we hope that you come back to Islamicity again and give us a lengthy understanding of what is happening to the planet and how we can be a force to bring about changes. And certainly what you explained today makes perfect sense, not only in terms of the issues faced by the people all over the world, but to that particular issue about the burial, because there are many groups who have been raising that issue for quite some time and pointing fingers specifically at Muslims and Christians and saying that the issue of burial is basically a challenge to the environmental issues. So thank you very much. It was pleasure having you for the last 3 days, and we hope that those days would not end, but certainly we have come to the conclusion of our series with you. But the series on the verses of the Quran would continue, and tomorrow we will have another person who would be giving her perspective on issues pertaining to charity, issues pertaining to giving and sadaqat and all those things. We once again thank you very much, Dr. Muhammad Aslam Parvaiz, for your precious time, and we hope that during this pandemic, when your city is under lockdown, you would definitely be be safe. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect you, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us more opportunities to learn from you. Thank you very much.